Hey, what's up YouTube? Welcome to my video where I will show you the modifications I've done to my Skagele budget multi-tool. You're at the We All Juggle Knives channel, by the way. This multi-tool is also sold as the Kingmax multi-tool. As you can see, I have replaced the combo edge blade with a plain edged blade, and I've replaced the bottle opener screwdriver with a wood saw. I also replaced the hardware on one side of that pivot because it's soft and it gets stripped. The other side is kind of stripped too, but not worth replacing at this time because I just got this back together how I want it and I don't need to adjust it. Now, if you're wondering where I got the spare parts for this modification, got it from this tool. This was sold as the Combo multi-tool. No longer available. However, there are at least 5 or 6 other multi-tools that are available that all use the exact same frame as these multi-tools, and therefore the little implements are interchangeable. So in the text description box, I will list those other multi-tools that all seem to use the same frame in case you need some spare parts for this Frankenstein operation. All right, but I do not recommend taking apart your multi-tool unless you have experience in doing stuff like this. In fact, later in the video, I will tell you all the things that can go wrong if you attempt this, right? All right, so there you see. To take this apart, you need 2 TORX drivers, such as those. Now, that one there, that's an old Lone Wolf set of TORX keys. It actually has Allen drivers, TORX, and a little V sharpener as well. Now, Benchmade purchased Lone Wolf, so now Benchmade makes that. All right, and that is the Gorilla Grip. It's another set of TORX drivers. I believe it was $8 on Amazon. These are very useful for adjusting the pivots on folding knives as well. If you don't have one of those, you really need 1 or 2 of those. I'll include links to those if you need to pick them up. Now, the claim to fame of this SKago multi-tool is that it has that fire, what they call the match, but it's a fire steel that's stuck into the handle. All right, this is from, I've already done a full review, but there's the fire steel. That's a striker I use. So, being that this has a little fire starting device in the handle, it's an outdoor multi-tool. Now, the normal price on this is around $16, but when I reviewed it, it was half price, so people got it for $8. An insanely good deal. I mean, it's not the best multi-tool, but $8, that was crazy. But being an outdoor multi-tool, some of their tool choices just did not make sense. Like, for example, that's a stock one. It's got this liner locking blade with the combo edge. And I just didn't think that, I just didn't think combo edge made any sense for bushcraft or an outdoorsy tool, so I replaced it with that. Right? And the reason is because there are certain basic cuts that the serrated part would get in the way of. I like to be able to use the whole edge, right? A whole plain edge, and it's also easier to resharpen. For example, you can just make notches, and the serrations would have gotten in the way of some of that, and also the serrations were pretty poorly executed, so I just did not need them, so it just made sense to me to go with the plain edge, right? You can do a lot of stuff with that. It's clear that whoever designed this, you know, I'd give them an E for effort, but it's clear they probably were not a bushcrafter, right? Because, you know, do bushcrafters use combo edge? Usually not, but that's all right because the price was right and it gave me an excuse to tinker around. So you can see you can make little notches and so forth. You can whittle. Now, the next thing was, it was really weird that the original tool had a metal file but no wood saw. All right, so there you see, I replaced that bottle opener screwdriver with a wood saw. I kept the file because I like files. So with a wood saw, you can do little notches like that. Right? And you can also, you can make stop cuts, and then you can use the blade and meet the cut and make, you know, different, little more complicated notches, as you will see. Or you could connect those 2 notches and make one. I guess those would be grooves, you know, but then you could make a big notch. But you can also meet that up so, you know, one groove is at a 90-degree angle and the other is at a 45-degree angle, and then you have that basic notch there, which is used in certain traps. So in conclusion, the reason I made these modifications was just because a plain edge and a wood saw make a lot more sense with a multi-tool that's sold as like an outdoor or bushcraft or camp backup multi-tool. And maybe they'll see this video and maybe they'll just modify it so you can buy it like that instead. I kept the scissors because I like, well, they weren't the best scissors, but they're better than nothing. I kept what they call the rope cutter. That's what they call the cutting hook because it was actually well done if you watch the original review. All right, so let's talk about all the things that can go wrong if you try to modify this. I gotta warn people, especially young people, I do not recommend you just go ahead and take apart your multi-tool because I don't want some young person crying and breaking their tool and then they wasted their money and they say, oh, I saw this video and I destroyed my tool. Don't do that. This is for people who are experienced in that. I have a lot of subscribers that are machinists, mechanics, and people who modify multi-tools, so I'm sure they would do fine, but I'm just warning again, young people, don't mess with your tool without proper supervision and instruction, okay? Now, there are a lot of things that can go wrong if you try to take this apart. Number one, it's really easy to lose the little stop pin, which is a cylinder of metal that prevents the blade from flopping backwards once you open it. And if you lose that stop pin or can't get it installed again, the blade is useless. So be aware of the stop pin, which just basically explodes out as soon as you unscrew this. Also, there's a wire that acts as the spring for the scissors. And that wire, again, that just falls right out and you have to put it back. It wraps around the pivot. It's hard to get that wire back to where the scissors have a spring. Another problem is that the hardware on this is fairly soft, but yet you have to apply a lot of force to get it back together correctly. Because if it's not tight, the non-locking tools will just flop out loosely, right? So you're applying a lot of force to some not so good hardware, so you can end up stripping it. So as you saw, I had to replace the one side of the pivot. The other side, you can see it's a little chewed up, but it's still usable. And once I got it back together, you know, I didn't want to take it apart again, but I could replace that with the spare parts I have if it becomes necessary. But yeah, you can strip the hardware, right? What else can, oh yeah, there's like 5 different types of washers in there, and the washers act as spacers, and if you don't get those just right, again, the tools will flop out loosely, so you may have to take it apart and back together several times, seeing like which washers you want to put where. So yeah, there's a lot of things that can go wrong, so don't do this unless you really like puzzles like this. As far as other budget multi-tool options, you have many, right? There's Gerber's budget line, there's Ganzo, there's Next Tool, there's Byberry, there's Grand Way, there's companies like WeTools, there's Roxxon, there's WorkPro, there's that old Schrade. So I will list a whole bunch of budget multi-tool options for you in the text description box, an updated list. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you enjoy videos like this about multi-tools, or if you like knife reviews, feel free to subscribe if you have not already done so. Check out all the links in the text description box. Those do help support the channel, and I really appreciate you using them. All right, this has been We All Juggle Knives. I'm out.